This is Sarah Levitt with the Making Magnificence Project. And today, I couldn't be more excited. It's true. My guest is Jessica Baum, a licensed mental health counselor and the author of Anxiously Attached, which I'm going to read from in just a little bit, Becoming More Secure in Life and Love. Jessica has a group private practice in Palm Beach, Florida, and an internal coaching business where she helps people from all over the world heal from attachment wounds, trauma, and addiction. And she also does couples counseling. She's releasing her next book, which we're going to talk about, called Safe, this October. So welcome to this conversation on healing for the Making Magnificence Project, Jessica Baum.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy
Thank
to be
you.
here with you.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I thought we could kind of start with the basics, which is what is attachment? So for someone who's never heard about it before, what does attachment mean? Like if we're just moving through the world.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So, attachment theory, which is, I think, what you're kind of alluding to, is something that was researched in the 1950s, and it's literally the research behind how babies attach to their primary caregivers. And the research shows that parents who show up differently, the babies attach differently, and we form attachment patterns, and then those patterns show up in our adult relationships. So I think that's
Mhm.
the like the you know the buzz around it is that people are starting to understand I have an attachment pattern or an attachment type, and it's repeating in my adult relationships. And so it comes from attachment theory, which is basically studying how we attach to our primary caregiver and the quality of that relationship. And we can get into the specifics and how that kind of plays into every aspect of our life, how safe we feel in the world, how
Amen, sister.
oh yeah. Right. Yeah. It basically lays down the blueprint. So if you had
Yeah.
more insecure experiences, you struggle more in the world. And if you've had more secure experiences, you have an easier time living your life. I mean, it is that important and it impacts us that much. And I think people are just starting to become very aware of it.
And we'll get into kind of because I want to talk about kind of insecure versus secure and kind of types of insecure, but I just wanted to kind of get the general kind of frame and foundation of what we're talking about. So, attachment theory essentially, tell me if I've got this, is how a baby relates to and is related to by its primary caregiver. That kind of lays down an imprint of how to relate, and then that imprint carries with us into our lives. Do I have that?
Yeah. And I think that as babies, what people don't understand is that we need to connect. We
Mm.
need connection just as much as we need food and water. So
Mm.
we are reaching out for connection, and it's how we're received and learn and how we learn about connection and safety around connection and co-regulation and all those things that teach us that later if things are safe for us or if they're not safe for us. So it lays down like this blueprint inside of us. And connection is like a biological imperative. Like we cannot breathe. We are so dependent on our primary caregivers, and how they respond to us just shapes everything about us, including our organs. Like we're still
Oh,
coming out of womb, we're still developing our organs, our nervous system. We're not fully developed beings. We don't even have a parasympathetic nervous system. So the way that our primary caregivers show up and soothe us and attend to us and regulate us impacts the quality of our life for a long time until we heal.
until we hit. So, of course, I already want to go in, I've got some questions here, but I already want to go in like 10 different directions. So, how did you, because you do different types of counseling, different types of therapy, how did you come to understand the importance of attachment theory in the work you were doing with clients?
Yeah, I mean, I started in the field a long time ago working in the addiction field. And so I was working with a lot of mothers who were struggling with children. I was just helping a lot of people who were very dysregulated when another person wasn't okay, and I was helping family systems. And then through my own kind of work in my personal life, I did something called imago therapy. So I started to understand like relationship dynamics in a new way and myself and my own healing process and how I was helping couples heal and families heal. And I think more personally, but also what I was helping people in my office, like I just wanted to share
Mm,
attachment theory because and I feel like if you really start to understand attachment, you're like, oh my God, this is the underpinnings of everything.
hmm
If we don't have a sense of security inside of us, then we really struggle in life. If we have an inner sense, a more of an inner sense of security, life is just easier. And, I think these extreme relational experiences that we have impact us so deeply that I think I just wanted to share why with the world, like why your system is responding and how scary it can be and how trauma lives in the body and how we recreate things. And I just wanted
hmm
people to have a better understanding of the why.
And your book, which I loved and read, and came to me at a pivotal time, right before you and I worked together, um, is so personal, Jessica. Like this isn't just kind of, I'm going to lay down this theory for all of you to understand. I mean, you've got yourself, certainly at the beginning of the book, kind of at the center of it in terms of, wow, this is what was going on with me. Like you're using yourself as an example in a really vulnerable way.
Yeah, and I'm like kind of nervous because safe is like 10 times deeper than that.
Wow. Wow.
Um,
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I, I feel very strongly that I'm a human being having a
hmm
human experience as
hmm
well as a professional, and that I wanted the reader to feel like I was with them, that I understood them, and that I was not at a different level than them, or
Yeah.
that my expertise didn't tell you what you should be doing, rather what we are going to be doing together, what
Yeah.
I've been through, what I understand. And it's a lot of people come to me and they're like, and especially with safe, because I'm even more vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like scary, because I'm putting myself out there in the world. And I asked my mentor, I was like, please don't let me overshare. I
Right.
want
Right.
to
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
in the capacity that helps people. And I
hmm
want to share because I just want to help people. And I feel like people want to feel less alone.
hmm
And it takes the shame out if I'm
That's what I
sharing
was
that
going to
I've
say.
been there
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's almost like you are, at least when I was reading this at a time when I really needed it, um, and still do. I mean, it's not like I've got it all figured out, but it was almost like kind of a big sister guide. Like, here's the path that I have walked, here's the path that I've walked, here's my journey. And then let me lay this out for you. This is what might be going on with you and why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to your
And then
point,
my journey continued.
right? Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. No, I can't wait to read the new book. So okay, so we've got kind of the foundation of attachment, which is this early imprint that, and because it's an imprint, we carry it with us. Um, if someone wanted to kind of, we're at the beginning of this, and someone wanted to understand more about themselves in the context of attachment and how it might be showing up in their lives. And I want to talk to you about how and where it shows up. We'll get there in a minute. How would they go about figuring themselves out or beginning to kind of take the lid off the can?
Most people have a sense of whether or not they have an abandonment wound. Most people hear the word codependency, which I can't stand that
hmm
word,
hmm
but they can start to identify I have some anxiety in relationships. I either have anxiety when I get too close, or I have anxiety that I'm going to be left, but that I have these fears that show up as themes in my relationships, and I might pick a particular type of person and be recreating these dynamics over and over again. So, and the feelings of shame of not being lovable or being left or that getting close is scary, like when I say those words or when you're thinking, like some things have charges with us. And, I
Yeah.
always have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
I'm going to be left wound, right? And then, of
Yeah.
course, I pick partners who leave me. And so
Yeah.
I think as you're listening, you can kind of reflect on what of my experiences have been repeating? What felt sensation do I get to at the end of my experiences or in the middle of fighting or at some point where I'm always like, oh, here I am again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here this
Mm-hmm.
is again, and so we can start to look at patterns and especially about how safe do I feel in relationship and what have my relationship experiences been like. So I think those can be indicators of whether or not you have some attachment wounds that are being activated in your intimate relationships.
So patterns, kind of noticing, geez, I'm feeling this way in my closer or closest relationships. And there's kind of a pattern there. It caught my attention when you said, kind of, am I feeling kind of like, I'm going to paraphrase here, but do I get stirred up in closeness or am I afraid of being abandoned? Can those two go together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's
Typically,
a special cocktail. I think that's probably mine.
you know, in my next book, I talk about we don't have just one pattern, right? And we show up differently in different relationships. And
Yes.
it's a combination of two people's embedded patterns that make up the relational dance. And we can be anxious, as I wrote the book on it, and have avoidant protectors. So
Right,
it can
right.
feel like my abandonment wound might come on and I might grab on, or this might be
Mm.
really scary and I might push away, right? So those are the kind of things that we can do when we're scared. So we can have all of them, pockets of security. We can have a whole, I call it the wheel of attachment possibility in the next book to really start to look at the whole picture there and what shows up in different relationships.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I forgot about kind of anxious attachment, but with avoidant protectors. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
that's
Join the
fascinating.
club.
Um, so this is something to me that's always been fascinating, and you've just touched on it. And I'd love to spend a little time on it. So, can you share with us what is it about our most intimate relationships, typically our romantic relationships, where this stuff really gets stirred? So you can be completely comfortable at ease, feeling safe, for example, in the business world, the people I work with, right, are leaders. And in an individual context, in a romantic relationship, you feel stirred or activated, whatever word we want to use, charged, in a way that just doesn't show up elsewhere. Can you talk to us about that, Jessica? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, everything is just so layered and everybody's so different. So you can pick romantic partners that are more avoidant and have an anxious boss, right? Like you can have all these layers. Typically, the closer the relationship, and the more important the relationship, the more likely it's gonna reenact certain wounds. I struggle with this question because it's so layered. Like if I saw my mother have wonderful female relationships and I have a warmth around that and I experienced a lot of that, I might actually have internalized that message and those feelings.
Mm,
And I might have really warm relationships with females. If my dad was particularly avoidant, I might pick avoidant men. Like there's so many layers and complexities around I might pick a job that reenacts my family dynamics. It's not just your
hmm
romantic partnership. I might feel like my boss is my critical father or my critical mother. Like
mm,
we actually reenact so many different things, but it happens to be in romantic relationships because we get so close that often there is more intensity, but not always the case. Not
hmm
always the case.
hmm
So we learn from our early experiences. We also learn by what we see. So we have like
Yeah,
mirror neurons. So we're not just learning about the way our parents treated us. We also are learning from the way we see them treat each other.
yeah,
So we can
definitely.
internalize all those patterns and it can show up so differently. I know that like there was one girl who works for me and like she sees me as her critical father sometimes. And I'm gonna be tough, but like there was a lot of projecting that was going on and a lot of pressure, and I unpacked it with her. And so we can fit these roles for people just by the way we gaze or our tone or if we're frustrated, and then people kind of, recreate or project some of the unresolved trauma onto us.
Yeah. So it can occur so we can kind of pick a job, to your point, where we can be in a role where we're kind of reenacting part of it. But I'm also hearing that in closer relationships, the intensity is typically greater.
Typically,
Do I
because
have
the
that?
closer we get and the deeper we bond, the more likely our attachment wounds and patterns are to surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's more at stake. What's going on there?
Because we let them in closer and
Yeah.
things become
Really.
more important. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
why is it that we tend to pick people that stir our stuff?
Yeah. And this is the premise for my whole next book, but
We're gonna have to have you back then.
yeah, I mean, so when we're small, we have an inherent felt sense of what we expect in relationships based on what we experienced. So that lives in our soma, it lives in our body. So we expect, like if I had a father who was
Mhm.
neglectful, my
Mm.
body understands that that's the way relationships are. Not only will I seek it out, it's the only thing my system knows to expect. So we like kind of recreate and are pulled towards like a magnet towards the implicit memory of what our childhood was like, and we typically recreate it until we heal it. So and you know this as well as anyone, like becoming conscious of it is the work. It's hard work, and so
Yeah.
we tend to, yeah, we're looking, the theory is we're looking to resolve some of these
Mm-hmm.
dynamics in our adult relationships, but left unconscious, we're just repeating them.
Yeah.
So it takes a bit of work to be like, oh wow, my partner is doing this behavior, but it's waking up the many times I've felt like this in my life and possibly very early on. And for your listeners, you might be like, I don't understand that. If it lives in your body through sensation, we also know that that is memory. So we don't think of memory that way. And I think that's one of the biggest messages I'm trying to get out there is that memory or sensational experiences in our body let us know that what is happening right now is happening right now and most likely has happened before. So your gut
Yeah.
dropping.
Yep. You're touching on one of the, so I want to get there because that was huge. Like this concept with reading your book and then doing the core wounds class with you. Are you
Yeah.
still offering those? Because that was so good.
I haven't in a while, but that class
It's
is
so
so enlightening
so
in that
good. So
way.
good. Because you're just hearing, like, for anybody listening to this, when she offers it, it's a great class because just being in a room with people who are all on the same exploration, being in a virtual room with people who are all on the same exploration, there were times when someone, like, I was trying to get at something within myself and I couldn't quite get there. Someone would describe themselves and I'd be like, yes, that's it. So that
Hmm.
was but back to what you were saying, one of my questions, and you're touching on it right now, is this concept of implicit memory, which is just um, was kind of revelatory. And this idea, and I love your phrasing about kind of how the relationship or the dynamic can awaken
Hmm.
that memory in a way that, and you talk about this in the book, in a way that it's not been awakened before.
Hmm.
Like in a way you're going, what in the hell is going on here? That was I was like, what in the hell is going on here, Sarah?
Yeah.
Um,
It can be really scary and
it was
overwhelming as well.
very like big kind of feelings and big. And so the implicit memory then the, is it the young kind of pre-verbal memory that we have of attachment?
Yes, I mean, so we're not born with the ability to have explicit memory. It starts to come on board around 2. So
Mm,
from womb till about them, there's only sensation. So every experience that we have is stored sensationally. And we're storing implicit memory every second.
yeah.
much, much bigger than explicit. Like right now, as I sit here with you, there's so much more implicit storing and information coming to me. I mean, versus explicit. So we're constantly taking in the implicit, the sounds, I don't know how to explain it. It's like the felt sense of being
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
is being stored all the time versus I met with Sarah, we recorded a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the explicit is like beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
The implicit information is just constant streams, and we're
Yeah.
constantly storing these streams of information. For example, if I was your therapist and we were working together, you're also storing lots of information of what it's like to be around Jessica, what
Mm-hmm.
it's like to
Mm-hmm.
take Jessica in, my facial expressions, my tone, my everything, all of that gets stored implicitly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can be, and what has been stored historically when we were very young, and when those imprints were pretty new, because we're a clean slate, right? Those can be awakened. Am I following in
Yeah,
relationship?
I mean,
Yeah.
anything can be awakened in a relationship. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, if left unhealed, likely to be awakened, right? Because it's not, it is being awakened in the current moment, but it's really there underneath the surface all the time, just
All the
looking for
time.
the right situation to kind of show up.
Yep. I want to read a passage. So, talking about showing up, I want to read a passage, a passage from your book because, and then I want you to talk to us about the anxious avoidant dance because it's such a common, my understanding is
Mhm.
it's such a common pattern. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, anxious and avoidant tend to attract each
They
other.
tend to
Yes.
attract you. Okay, so this is Ben and Hunter. Just you're giving just kind of an example here. And you say that Ben believes the way Ben has grown up, essentially, Ben believes that to receive love, he must always do well. And so over time, he places more and more emphasis on doing things that he feels proud of, while simultaneously minimizing awareness of his emotional states, since it hurts when they go unnoticed. That's kind of how, like, rough sketch about how he's grown up at school. His independent attitude means he comes across externally as self-assured. Um, and his classmate Hunter finds herself very drawn to his confidence. Hunter has experienced that love comes and goes in unpredictable ways, which scares her. This was like the most, this was so resonant with me, Jessica, when I read it, resonant of my life experience. She's become hyper vigilant to her mother's emotional needs, so she can do little things that seem to help her mother be more available, being quiet, keeping her room clean, not asking for much. Hunter has learned to put her own needs second. Over time, this I was like, oh, there it is. It was like somebody pulled the curtain away. Over time, Hunter and Ben become friends, and in doing so, make an unspoken little me pact. I'm going to talk to you about little me based on the core beliefs that have already been imprinted in them about what it means to give and receive love. Ben will impress Hunter with his independence, making her feel special and seen when he chooses to spend time with her. In return, Hunter will shower him with attention no matter what, and he will feel special and seen by her. It's as if they each instinctively know what the other needs to feel loved and appreciated. That's been my lived experience too in this type of relationship. Um, while Hunter is craving more attention, Ben begins, and then you talk about how things start to kind of unwind here and they get into trouble. Ben begins to feel confused and no longer confident. Hunter begins to resent having to work so hard at maintaining their connection. And when she speaks up by getting emotional, Ben feels overwhelmed by her expression of feelings and begins to retreat. Feeling rejected, Hunter gets even more angry, and then they have a fight. Um, so that kind of, how do those two early imprints match together so well? That's like the most resonant explanation I've ever heard or
Yeah,
read.
I mean, Hunter kind of Ben kind of represents a more avoidant child.
Hmm.
So he grew up in a home where emotions weren't attended to, and there's some anxiety there, but he appears very stoic on the outside, very
Yes.
stable,
Yeah.
right? And so that's um, an anxious person as hunter, that's very appealing to them because they
Mm.
feel stable.
Mhm.
Now, Hunter's very expressive. She grew up in a home where she had to meet and take care of her mother, a more anxious home. She feels a lot. She understands the needs of others a lot. So they're kind of opposites in that way. So he's going to be attracted to her liveliness and her expression, and she's going to be attracted to his stoicness and sense of independence. It's kind of the lost parts of themselves. The
Mm,
problem
mm,
is that
mm.
Hunter has an abandonment wound and needs to stay close and take care of in order to stay in connection. And when an anxious person gets activated, they're in fear, they can activate the avoidant person. And the avoidant person, in order to keep themselves in the illusion of safety, pulls away and self-regulates because they didn't learn how to co-regulate well and they didn't learn how to show their emotions. So you have one person who's desperate for connection and the other person who's desperate for space at the same time. So both
Yes. Yeah.
people and our inner children
Yeah.
are scared and trying to resolve their fear with the exact thing that the other person can't provide in that moment. So
Just fascinating. So is it the case, correct me if I don't have this, that the anxious avoidant pairing is the most common among the attachment styles?
um I don't know. I think that there's a growing sense of more avoidant attachment growing in our population and more anxious attachment. But I wouldn't say there's a good bulk of people that are more secure. But
Mm-hmm.
two avoidants don't really make it that long. They can, and two
Right.
anxious can. But usually, when you start pairing that way, one person starts to show up more avoidant than the other. So you can kind of change within that dynamic. It's just basically how your abandonment wound shows up and how you like. If I'm anxious, but I feel like I'm more secure right now, and I've earned my security. But let's say I didn't earn my security and I'm really still very anxious and I partner with someone who's more anxious than me, I might push them away because I
Mm-hmm.
might not be able to handle that much fear coming at me. So it depends. I might not be
Mm-hmm.
attracted to them, or I might become more avoidant in that dynamic.
You're singing my song. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've mentioned a couple of times, and I love the phrase kind of earned your security, earned secure. And
hmm
you mentioned kind of these early attachment wounds until we heal. So, what does the path of healing and earned security look like?
Yeah, so if we internalize parents that were more avoidant, more fearful, not really that secure, we've internalized them inside our being. And that's why we might move around the world feeling a little less secure because we've taken in their anxiety, we've taken in their avoidance, and we just don't feel as secure in the world. As an adult, doing the work and partnering with and doing the work with people who have a bigger neuroception of safety and can be present and consistent and warm and non-judgmental, we re-experience our wounds, but we reattach to people who have the capacity with
Mm,
all the terror and all the pain. And so it's a re-experiencing of the original wounds with a parent or a nervous system
mhm,
that is non-judgmental and can hold it. And then we take that person in, and then we might find more people because now our system is starting to. I think the biggest thing that we need to know is our parents' inability to be present with us is usually what causes a lot of this. So finding people, therapists, coaches who can be present with us and doing the work gives our system an understanding of this is what someone holding space for me feels like. This is what it's like to be vulnerable. This is like new and foreign to my system. And once we do that enough, we seek out others who have the capacity and we start to give the capacity the more that we heal. So we internalize secure people as adults and we start to choose more secure people. And it's really hard at first.
mm, mm.
if you work with a therapist or a coach who's really secure, the path is through vulnerability and sometimes re-experiencing, and it's hard work. So it's like getting your nervous system to start to recognize true presence and non-judgmental holding and vulnerability, and then starting to be like, okay, I'm starting to get used to this. This isn't so hard. And then finding other people who have that capacity and kind of letting those people show up in your life and having rupture and repair and working through that. So finding other secure people and trying to be that more for each other and doing that work with someone who can hold that deep space is really important.
And so a secure, so if someone is insecure, meaning anxious or avoidant, do I have that?
Or
Or
disorganized.
disorganized? Um, a secure person, meaning their attachment system. I want to make sure we're making that distinction. Um, how are they going to behave and be different than those other three attachment styles?
Yeah, so someone who's either done their work and earned their security or just more secure inside, they have a bigger window of what we call neuroception of safety. So they have a bigger capacity to stay present with
Mm,
us when things get scary or hard.
mm-hmm.
So they don't run away, they don't get scared with us. They hold space because their system has the capacity to stay present. Exactly what our parents didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So someone with a big window or neuroception of safety, and I'm not saying it's perfect all the time,
Yeah, yeah.
but someone who can hold present space for us is because they've had a lot of present holding themselves. And they're not going to get activated as much. I mean, we all get activated, but they're able to come back to baseline faster, homeostasis faster, and stay present. That's
Mm-hmm.
the most important. So that's something that either is earned through experiencing a lot of. I mean, I can get activated with you right now, Sarah, right? Like those things happen, but it's an ability to be aware of that and get back into baseline faster so that I can hold your activation, right? And so it's something that I think most therapists need to do their own work, or you just have a natural capacity to hold space and not get scared with the other person.
And we've been talking about, I know a good bit in the book is about the relationships. So we've been talking about on the path to healing, kind of the external relationships.
Mhm.
And I want to shift now to the little me relationship. So can you talk about who is little me
Yes.
and how is that relationship part of healing?
So little me, I mean, and I think a lot of people have heard of inner child work.
Hmm. Hmm.
But little me, I have a lot of different versions of me are what in my book I talk a lot about the implicit. So little me lives as sensation in our body. So little me stores. So trauma in the body is not about a traumatic event so much as a repeated thing happening over and over again and having no one to receive us. When no one receives us, that part of us that stores that memory into our system. So we could go to school and have a really bad day at school and something traumatic can happen. And we go home and if mommy and daddy sit down with us and they process it with us, it doesn't become trauma.
Mm.
But if
Because
we,
someone is holding the experience, it's shared.
yes,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yes, when it gets stored in the body as like a little me experience is when it happens, usually repeatedly, and there's no sharing. So we have to store it in various areas in our body, and little me lives inside as stored experiences. And I mean, as your inner child, right? But it's many little me's. Like I have a 4-year-old in me, I have a 13-year-old in me. So, but it's these parts of us that can get awakened when we're scared or when we're in certain situations, they come alive. and they get activated. And it's how do we start to form a relationship with these experiences that are happening. And sometimes it requires someone on the outside to form a loving responsive relationship to what's going on inside of us. And if that happens enough, then we start to respond to what's going on inside of us in a more loving way. So we get that original need to be held and comforted and seen and validated from an external person for that little me, then we become like the parent that can do that for ourselves. But that takes an experience first, a lot of experiencing and holding first.
So it takes the experience, I want to make sure I'm tracking. It takes the experience of an outside person to kind of hold the distress or the activation of the little me for us to be able to then kind of know how to do it for ourselves. Am I following?
Yeah, like I get frustrated when people are like, you need to love yourself. And I'm like, it's like that's so abusive to throw that out. It's like, sure, if that was that easy, we'd all be walking around with self-love, right? We need to experience love. We need the felt experience of love in order to create it. Like we
Right.
cannot create from thin air. If we don't have one, and it can be our dog, but like if we don't have one resource to say, oh my God, this is what it's like to be loved and adored, and this is what it feels like in my body, and this is what, if it was a person, this is what that person would say to me. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have that as a resource. We can't just like wake up and love ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
literally learn how to love ourselves through the experience of being loved.
Interesting. And
We
so,
literally learn how to regulate ourselves through the experience of being co-regulated.
and talk about, so for people listening to this who are um, business leaders for the most part, what does regulation mean?
Yeah, so when we're born, we're not born with what a parasympathetic nervous system in place. We are not fully developed human beings. We have a sympathetic system. So we cry out for help. Sympathetic is an activated system. Our mom or primary caregiver stands in as a co-regulator, as a soothing force
Mm,
for us. So if she's not feeling safe within herself and she doesn't have a state of safety, she can't provide that type of soothing and co-regulation to help us manage what's going on inside.
hmm
And therefore, we grow up more anxiously wired. Sometimes we'll look to alcohol, we'll look to other things because we don't have enough, we didn't have enough external soothing to internalize that and build a strong parasympathetic or understand that. So that's the frustration is that anxious people need a lot of holding and co-regulation because they didn't have that because their moms were likely more anxious themselves. And sometimes avoidant people didn't get it at all, so they learned to shut down. And
hmm
and co-regulation can feel very scary. Don't even bother. That person
hmm
is never going to show up for me. They didn't show up for me at all. So I'm not even going to try to get the co-regulation.
I want to go in like five different um, five different directions. Let's hear about in the time that we have. So talk to us about your new book, Safe.
Yeah, so safe.
And what has generated writing it? Because this one came out fairly recently, Jessica, like what, 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us about Safe.
Well, I was in a relationship when I wrote that book thinking like everything was perfect. And a lot of things happened that woke up more in me. And I chose to leave that relationship. And Safe talks about all my attachment experiences and all of our attachment experiences and how to actually heal them. Um, and it talks about the importance of safety and how to recreate safety in our lives so that we can basically earn security. It's a deeper, much deeper dive. And I think coming out of that relationship for me woke up a lot. That I
Hmm
thought like, oh, okay, and it's a humbling it's a humbling experience, but and I can truly say, depending on who I attach to now, I have really earned my security. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that one relationship was giving me a lot of security. So when I lost that, I had to re-establish a lot of security in my life. And I've been studying interpersonal neurobiology for a while and how we earn security and how we have different patterns and how different patterns show up in different relationships, like everything that we're talking about, how to develop a neuroception of safety. What does that even mean? How to have safe relationships. Why do our relationship patterns repeat? And
Mm,
getting people out of the box of I'm anxious attachment or I'm avoidant and starting to understand we have a wheel of possibilities and we can show up different in different relationships. So, like, really just changing the whole dynamic around we don't fit in a box. And I didn't fit in
hmm
a box. I even talk about I had disorganized parts show up.
hmm
So
hmm
disorganization is classified by terror. So I don't live my life in disorganized, and I live a lot of my life in a lot of security now, but I experience disorganized pockets, I call them. And we might all have little pockets of them. Like if our parents don't pick us up at school and there's like that terror inside for a couple seconds, we can have them. So in this book, I just kind of really broaden the scope of attachment. And you understand attachment in this next book as an infant,
mm.
like you go inside and I wanted to just give every single pattern equal weight so that people could really unpack them all.
And it sounds like too, you're touching on how like this wheel, we might be show up differently in different relationships depending on what's being awakened.
Mhm.
But that oftentimes there is a pattern. Yes? Am I hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, we can recreate the same patterns over and over again,
Yeah.
and they can get worse if we don't heal, So it
Yeah.
depends on who we're partnering with.
Yes. Yeah. I've had the experience. It's interesting what you were talking about earlier. I've had the experience of being in a relationship with someone who is more anxiously attached than I. And my reaction was, as you've described, I'm like, whoa,
Right.
I need some, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. What So what was the impetus for kind of writing the book? Was it your personal kind of coming to a crossroads, coming out of that relationship?
it was my personal healing that I
Hmm
really um, took it to the next level. And I like everything in my life has changed,
hmm
like for the better, but like it was a process. And then I learned the science behind it. And like I just have this need to share it in a compassionate way because I just know so many people want this information, go through this, want to heal. It's a journey. It's a journey to heal. And the science, understanding the science was an anchor for me.
hmm
Um,
hmm
and you experience the healing and like you get it, but like also like providing people with a dumb down. I shouldn't say that. The science is so complicated, but I want it to be more manageable.
Yeah, like a
So
distilled,
like
like the essence, the distillation. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like let's do some healing together. This is why what you need and who you need, and this is what happens in your brain.
Mm,
And like giving them everything. And my mentor, Bonnie Badenoch, is 82 and she's been teaching me and she played a big part in writing this. And I feel like this is some of her legacy passed through me.
beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
she's really the teacher of us therapists. She's written books for therapists. And I have this access to the everyday person. So we speak to two different populations. So I tried to pull her wisdom in and help use that in a more accessible way so that everybody could get some of her because she's truly amazing. And she's had a profound impact on me. And so I don't know, it was just so transformational deciding to do the work and like leaving a relationship that wasn't nourishing me was the hardest thing, and
Yeah.
leaning into relationships that
Yeah.
were vulnerable and could be there for me was really hard for me. And I write about like my past relationship, and like he did do a lot of work with me and I love him very much. But when it came to the real attachment work that was showing up, it was just too hard for him.
Hmm.
It's like going through, and you can't make someone else, like the hope is you heal together
Mm-hmm.
and heal together, but you can't make someone heal with you. So I just chose to continue to do the work week after week. And man, and he chose not to.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and that's okay. And at the end of the day, like I went right and he went left, right? And I care very much about this person. He's still suffering and I've evolved a little. But that's because I went through a lot of stuff to get to the other side. So it's just it's been such a process. And I think my mentor, my therapist, I've just been so lucky to have the right people in my life to do the
Hmm.
work.
Hmm.
And I think this book is about helping you find the right people and what does that
Mm.
even mean? And
Mm-hmm.
like
It
there's so
was
many.
one of the questions I was going to ask. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and
Yeah.
so this book really points you in the right direction. I just don't want people to be in the dark anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I just want them to have the resources.
And it's not as if, again, tell me where I'm wrong on this. It's not as if attachment affects some of us and not others. It affects all of us. Yes?
Yes, but people who have more of a secure base
Mm-hmm.
tend to attract people who meet their needs. So
Mm,
their experience early on is that I'm going to get my needs met.
yeah.
And the world
Yeah.
is relatively a safe place within reason, and I can depend on people. And they tend to partner with people who meet their needs. So
Yes.
there's a whole population out there that doesn't suffer in the same way you and I have, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was saying to somebody recently, actually, that I, I feel like some of the work is starting to accumulate in a good way
Oh, good.
because I can see things. It's not that I didn't see them before, like in a potential dating relationship. It's that I listen and observe what's going on and then say, no, that's not for me, as opposed to going into it and then spending a year.
Hmm. Yeah, you can tell faster what's not for you.
Yes.
And for me, like even in avoidant relationships now, because I've done so much healing, I actually don't get activated as much by them. So I have a bigger capacity.
Yeah.
And I don't mean
Yeah.
romantic relationships so much, but like their adaptive strategies don't awaken me in the same intensity
Yeah.
because I've held that intensity in a therapeutic setting for so long that it loses its charge. So I can be around more now without it like
Yeah.
dysregulating me in the same way, I think.
It strikes me that I'm just mindful of our time. I have one more question for you. But it strikes me, two more questions. It strikes me that uh, that this kind of path, if someone wants to heal, this kind of path requires a couple of different things. One is honesty with oneself about what's going on. And then the other thing is a real you've mentioned it, kind of a real vulnerability.
Yeah, I think that insecure people attract other insecure people, right? And they can kind of coexist. But when we come into the presence of someone who really holds space for us,
Mm-hmm.
the next step is vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And vulnerability is terrifying
Mm-hmm.
because as we become vulnerable, I mean, think of the word, powerless, surrender, deep dive. We have to depend and regress in front of another human. And it's an all, for me, it was so hard. Um, But I mean, that's the avoidant protector. It's like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
learning to depend and like, on people because you're really in it. And, I think that piece is like a big piece for a lot of my clients. It's like, oh, I don't like the way this feels. And this is so new for my system. And I have to keep leaning into this.
Yes.
Um, and when we're vulnerable, and we are in a safe, co-regulated, relationship, our neural nets that hold implicit memory in our amygdala open. So more memory surfaces. So the safer we
Hmm.
are in
Yeah.
connection, the
Yeah,
more
that makes sense.
likely
Yeah.
more will come
More
up.
stuff. Totally makes sense. Yep.
And it can be very overwhelming,
Yep.
but actually your system's saying I'm safe enough to
Yes.
re-experience this again. And you're like, whoa, I'm hanging on for this ride.
Yep.
So in safe relationships, the work shows up. And inherently, we
Yes.
have our own wisdom, we have our own unfolding, and our system knows if I am in a safe enough environment and I'm held enough, I'm going to keep releasing these neural nets, keep holding these, like it's kind of like they open up and the memory can come to conscious awareness.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So it really it sounds like so a couple things. So if first of all, if someone wants to learn more about you and what you do, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I have an Instagram page, Jessica Baum, LMHC. Um, you can just Google Jessica Baum. I have the Relationship Institute of Palm Beach
Right.
and
Yeah.
behelpful.com. Get on my mailing list,
Hmm. Hmm.
or follow me socially. So, if you get on my mailing list when I run a very small group. You'll be the first to know. So then you get the first offer, or when the next book comes out, you'll get like there'll be like a lot of promotional, like, hey, you get this with the book, you'll know about
Nice.
it. And, I share, I don't send out, like, if you're listening, I send out maybe an email a month,
Yeah, no, you don't send out. Well, I can't wait to read the new book. It sounds like it's a beautiful culmination of both professional and personal journeys, kind of.
And it's even more personal than the first book. So I'm a
Yeah.
little like, oh, geez. Um, this is like a lot and it's being bought now like internationally. And I'm like, wow, my story is going to be all over the world. Like, how do I really
Mm,
feel about that? And
yeah.
I just try to sit with like, if it's gonna help people and it's for the better good, then I think it's okay.
Yeah. But to your point, like, and you're also practicing what you've just been talking about, which is the vulnerability of
Yeah.
kind of
And
healing.
like, man, I've also walked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
And I feel good about this book because the synchronicity of this book is the last 4 years of my life, really. So I feel like I am kind of where this book ends, with more inner security, with a bigger network of people, freer in the world, more healed, more aware, more conscious, still fragile and human and all of that, but like I feel like it's all kind of happening, like it's being released, and I'm kind of where anxiously attached, I was kind of going through it while writing
Mm,
it. This, I feel like I've kind of come out the other side completely, although you're never really complete, but
right.
you know what I'm saying.
I do.
And I'm
Yes.
sharing it from like a very embodied experience, fully integrated place.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Nice.
that's exciting.
It's a very exciting place to be. My last question, which is a question I ask of all interviewees for the Making Magnificence project, which is, what does magnificence mean to you in your own life?
I was just thinking that's such a hard word to say.
Yeah, someone else said that too. They're like, what?
I am learning to read this book, so I'm working with a narrator. Magnificent. Well, I think of Angelina Jolie,
Hmm.
and playing the role, right? She played a role named Magnificent at one point. That's what actually first came to me. I don't know if you know
She,
that.
no, no, yeah, no.
Yeah, and it was like I think she was an evil character actually. So that's what I think of it. But then I think of like something that's grand and big and magical and small and wonderful and amazing all at the same time.
Hmm. Mm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My guest today has been Jessica Baum, licensed mental health counselor and author of Anxiously Attached. You can see the dog-eared pages here. Um, Jessica, thank you for this conversation.
Thank you so much. It's been
It's
wonderful.
been a joy.